Imagine coming home after 20 years of grinding, finally a millionaire, your dream house waiting for you, only to find your wife of 25 years dumped like trash in a filthy alley, barefoot, bruised, and barely recognizing your face. That's exactly what happened to Alexander Cole on a rainy November night in Chicago. And what he did next didn't just shock the city, it changed thousands of lives forever. Stay until the end, because this story will break your heart and put it back together stronger. If it moves you even a little, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Alexander Cole stepped off the private jet at O'Hare with the kind of quiet pride that only comes when you've finally made it. 48 years old, tailored coat, a watch that cost more than most people's houses, and a bank account that had 9 zeros before the decimal. He started with nothing, raised in the South Side projects by a single mom who cleaned offices at night just to keep the lights on. At 17 he was flipping burgers, at 25 he was driving trucks cross-country, at 35 he started a small logistics company with one rusty van. By 48, that one van had become Cole Star Freight, a nationwide empire. Forbes had just put him on the cover, the trucker who built a billion-dollar dream. All he could think about on the ride home was Sarah. Sweet Sarah with the crooked smile who wrote him letters every single day when he was on the road for months at a time. Sarah who waited tables to put him through night school. Sarah who sang their daughter Emily to sleep with old Whitney Houston songs even after the cancer took her voice down to a whisper. Emily, their only child, had died at 19 in a car accident coming home from college. That was 8 years ago. Since then it had just been the two of them, holding each other up like two trees growing through the same crack in the sidewalk. He'd been gone almost a year this time, finalizing a massive merger in Singapore. He sent money every week, called when the time zones allowed, sent flowers, sent postcards, sent everything except himself. One more year, baby, he'd promised. Then I'm home for good. We'll buy that lake house in Wisconsin you always wanted. Just us, the water, and peace. The driver pulled into their gated community in Oak Brook. The mansion looked exactly the same, white columns, manicured hedges, the porch swing where they used to sit wrapped in one blanket. But something felt off. No lights in the windows. No Sarah running out like she always did, barefoot across the driveway, jumping into his arms no matter who was watching. He paid the driver, grabbed his single duffel, he never traveled with more, and walked up the steps. The front door was unlocked. That was the first real punch to the gut. Sarah was religious about locking doors after Emily died. Inside, the house was cold. Not just temperature cold. Empty cold. Furniture was there, but the photos were gone from the walls. Her coats missing from the hall closet. The kitchen still had dishes in the sink, but they were covered in dust. A single envelope sat on the marble island with his name in her handwriting. His hands shook as he opened it. Alex, I can't do this anymore. The quiet is louder than the grief now. I'm sorry. Don't look for me. I need to breathe. Sarah. He read it 10 times before it sank in. She left. After 25 years, after everything, she just left. He called her phone, straight to voicemail. Called her sister, no answer. Called every friend whose number he still had. Nothing. He sat on the kitchen floor in his $10,000 coat and cried like a child until the sun came up. For 3 days he barely moved. He paid private investigators obscene amounts of money. They found nothing. No credit card trails, no phone pings, no hospital records. It was like Sarah Cole had vanished into thin air. On the 4th night he couldn't take the silence of that museum mansion anymore. He got in his old pickup, the one he kept in the garage because he refused to forget where he came from, and drove. No destination. Just drove until the suburbs turned into the city turned into neighborhoods he hadn't seen since he was a kid. That's when he smelled the rain coming. Chicago November rain, sharp and unforgiving. He found himself on the west side, streets he swore he'd never drive again after he made his money. He slowed down near a viaduct, headlights catching something that made his blood freeze. A woman huddled against the concrete wall under a torn cardboard box. Bare feet black with grime. Hair matted. Wearing a thin nightgown that used to be sky blue. She was rocking back and forth, whispering something he couldn't hear. He rolled the window down. "Sarah?" Her head snapped up. Those hazel eyes, once bright enough to light up his worst days, were cloudy, unfocused. Bruises on her cheek. Lips cracked and bleeding. She stared at him like he was a ghost. "Alex?" The voice was hers, but broken glass where music used to be. He was out of the truck before it fully stopped, running through puddles, dropping to his knees in that filthy alley. He reached for her and she flinched so hard she hit her head on the wall. "It's me, baby. It's me. I'm here." She started sobbing. Deep, body-shaking sobs that sounded like they'd been trapped inside her for years. He wrapped his coat around her, lifted her like she weighed nothing, and carried her to the truck. She clung to his shirt with fists so tight her knuckles went white. At the hospital they said early onset Alzheimer's, aggressive. She was only 46. It had started 2 years ago with forgotten names, burned dinners, getting lost on the way home from the grocery store. She hid it. Every symptom. Because she knew he was 1 year away from coming home for good. She didn't want to ruin his dream. So she wrote the note, paid cash for a bus ticket, and walked away from everything so he could keep the life he'd bled for. When the doctors explained, Alexander didn't cry. He just asked one question. "How long does she have before she forgets me completely?" "Months. Maybe less." He nodded once, like a man receiving a prison sentence. That night he sold Coal-Star Freight. The whole company. The empire he'd built with his own hands. 9-figure deal. The buyers thought they were stealing it. They had no idea he would have burned it to the ground for one more lucid day with her. With the money he bought a modest lake house in Wisconsin, the one she always wanted, and turned the entire lower level into a state-of-the-art memory care wing. He hired the best neurologists, the gentlest nurses, the most patient therapists. But most importantly, he moved in with her. No more boardrooms. No more private jets. Just him, Sarah, and whatever time they had left. He learned to cook her favorite lasagna even though she sometimes thought he was her father. He played Whitney Houston on repeat because music was the last thing to go. When she had sundowners rage and screamed that she hated him, he held her hands and said, "That's okay, baby. I love you enough for both of us today." Some days she knew him. Those days they sat on the dock and he told her about the boy who used to dream of giving her the world. She'd touch his face and whisper, "You were always my world, Alex. I just got lost for a little while." On the bad days, when she begged to go home and didn't know the lake house was the dream she'd asked for, he'd carry her to the porch swing anyway and rock her until the terror passed. He started filming little videos at first just for himself. Moments when she laughed at a joke she'd forgotten she told him 30 years ago. Moments when she looked at him with absolute clarity and said, "Thank you for finding me in that alley." He posted one on a whim to a private Facebook page for caregivers. It went viral overnight. Suddenly millions of people were watching a millionaire who gave everything away to change his wife's diapers and sing her to sleep. Comments poured in from husbands who felt guilty for working late, from wives terrified of the future, from children who didn't know how to say goodbye to parents who no longer knew their names. Alexander never asked for fame. But when people started donating, first hundreds, then thousands, then millions, he founded the Sarah Cole Foundation. Memory care homes that don't look like hospitals. Gardens patients can wander safely. Music therapy rooms. And the rule: no one dies alone. Ever. The city that once only knew him as the guy on the Forbes cover now called him the man who gave it all away. Reporters begged for interviews. He always said the same thing: I didn't give anything away. I finally bought what actually mattered. 2 years later, on a quiet May morning, Sarah woke up clear-eyed. She squeezed his hand and said, "Alex, I'm tired. But I'm not scared. You found me. You brought me home." Then she closed her eyes and slipped away while he sang, "I Will Always Love You," in the voice she used to tease him about. He buried her under a willow tree by the lake. At the funeral he didn't speak about loss. He spoke about love that doesn't keep score. About how some people think success is a bank balance, but real success is being the last face someone sees before they leave this world, knowing they were cherished every single day. The foundation now runs 32 homes across the country. All of them have porch swings. All of them play Whitney Houston at sunset. And every single one has a plaque that reads, "She was lost." He refused to lose her twice. Alexander still lives in that lake house. He's 60 now, hair gone silver, hands rough from gardening instead of steering wheels. Sometimes tourists slow down on the road hoping to catch a glimpse of the famous millionaire who became a caregiver. They always see the same thing: an old man on a porch swing, rocking gently, talking to the wind like it's answering back. And if you ask him whether he regrets selling the company, giving away the fortune, walking away from everything he built, he'll smile the crooked smile Sarah always loved and say, "I was broke the day I thought money could buy me time with her. The day I found her in that alley, I became the richest man on earth, because I still had time to love her right." So if you ever think it's too late to choose what really matters, remember Alexander Cole. Remember the millionaire who came home to an empty mansion and left it emptier still so he could fill his wife's final days with everything she ever gave him. Love isn't about what you have. It's about what you're willing to lose to keep it. If this story touched you, do me a favor. Hit that like button for Sarah, subscribe for Alexander, and turn on notifications because every week we tell stories of ordinary people who did extraordinary things with love. Share this with someone who needs to remember what actually matters. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, go call someone you love. Tell them before the alley finds them first.